From the land of sky blue waters, welcome to the Sota Pod. Isha Jaromír here, and I'll be joined by Seth Toupal momentarily. And we thank you all for joining us wherever and whenever you are listening. So first thing I want to get into before we bring on Seth Toupal, because we did record this late Sunday evening, and this episode is dropping on Monday for you guys. The only reason I didn't get this episode out a little sooner is because we awoke to some big news here this morning. That is right. Minnesota Wild defenseman, star defenseman, no longer a rookie, even though he should have won the Calder Trophy. He was absolutely robbed by that. The hockey writers don't watch hockey. They only look at stats on Hockey DB. I digress. Brock Faber has signed an extension with the Minnesota Wild. 8-year, $68 million, ladies and gentlemen. That will put him just under Kirill Kaprizov as highest paid player on the team. Not this year, he has one more year left on his rookie deal, but next year, 2025, 2026. Again, the true, real Calder winner. The real hockey writers didn't bend over for the Chicago Blackhawks in the NHL. We know that. Unbelievable player, and though I think just on the surface level it's high after 1 year of National Hockey League play, yeah, that's a hell of an extension. But I think getting him at that deal for his best years, let's be honest, he's only 21 years of age. Getting his best years at just under $9 million, especially with the potential that he gets even better. Now, if he gets even better, that's icing on the cake. Because if he just continues to play at the same level that he played this last year, which again, I project him to get a little bit better. I think everybody does, including the Minnesota Wild organization. But even if he plays to this level onward, you're getting a top defenseman. Bona fide top defenseman, and those come at a price. A near 50-point player who plays excellent defense, who plays a stupid amount of minutes, who still produces, still does things right, and whose only blunders and small blunders came in the second half of the season when he had broken ribs and he was still playing 20-plus minutes a night. Bro, that is a type of player, especially at this age, who hasn't had any major injuries, especially injuries that have kept him out of the lineup. That's a good price for him. It is, especially with the cap going up as well. Now, I know there's probably a lot of old school fans out there who are like, that's crazy. You don't pay someone that much. I mean, look at Drew Doughty's deal coming out of his rookie deal. Again, that was 10, 15 years ago? It's different now. The price of players have gone up. The cap has gone up, and it's going to continue to go up. Knock on wood. It was supposed to go up prior to the world's sickness. Let's be perfectly honest. It was projected to go up, 5+ mil, around that? So anyways, overall, I have no issues with this deal. I've heard people be like, it's a steal. I think steal is a stretch. I think it's exactly what was deserved and exactly what we thought it was going to be. Could it become a steal if he starts putting up even more points and no defense, no two-way play, no underlying stats or minutes are sacrificed? Absolutely. He was a leader for the Minnesota Gophers before coming over to the National Hockey League. Stupid high minutes for a rookie. Played all 82 games, even banged up a little bit. And he produced all year. If you look at his points, if you look at his underlying stats, man, unbelievable stuff. And I said it, even while injured, he still was leaned upon. Even while injured, he played 20+ minutes a night, guys. Unbelievable stuff. 6th highest ice time in the entire National Hockey League, not just amongst rookies. 6th highest ice time, averaging 24 minutes and 58 seconds. 300 more minutes than any other rookie who played last year, even the fake Calder winner, Bedard. He topped all rookies in minutes since 1997, which is absolutely insane. And he played the highest amount of minutes in a single game NHL-wide amongst all players at 33 minutes and 25 seconds, December 21st, in a game against the Montreal Canadiens. 47 points in his rookie season as a defenseman, 39 assists, which was tied amongst rookies, and second in points behind Bedard, who is a forward. And I know he missed 14 games due to injury, but still, but still. Even if Bedard played those 14 games and amassed points at the same pace that he did while healthy, Faber should have still won the Calder. I'm not even being biased because I cover the Wild. At the end of the day, I'm a Canucks fan. As people who listen to this podcast and who have been listening to this podcast for years, I'm a Canucks fan. I cover the Minnesota Wild. I have an interest in this team. But like, I could, at the end of the day, care less from a fan perspective. I care because he was absolutely robbed, and it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to that trophy. It's a disgrace of a look from the hockey writers. It really is, and it makes me sick. In his deal, he has a no movement clause, 15-team no trade clause for the final 3 years of the deal. Overall, like I said, I like it. Is it a steal? No. Is it what we thought it would be? The majority anyways. I believe so. Do I think it has potential to be a steal? Yes. But at the current time, I think it's perfect. Now, if he puts up 70 points this year, right, and continues to play defensively and basically plays like he did last year and puts up even 10 to 20 more points, then sure, then we can have the conversation about it being a steal. Quickly, before I bring Seth Toupal on here, let's just quickly go over some comparisons. Some guys who had tremendous rookie years, defensemen who had tremendous rookie seasons. Now, I know Brock Faber only had one rookie season because he had a cup of coffee after his college year with the Wild that burned his first year of the contract. And again, there are so many other players that we could have used in this example. For the sake of time, I just noted some notable recent ones. Starting with Adam Fox, signed a 7-year deal, $9.5 million cap hit after his rookie years. However, Adam Fox did play 3 seasons under a rookie contract. Rasmus Dahlin signed an extension after 2 years, $11 million a year for 8 years as well. Miro Heiskanen, 8-year contract, $8.45 million. He played his full 3 years as a rookie. Seth Jones, who I know people are going to roll their eyes upon me saying that, but he did play tremendously in Nashville as a rookie. They signed him to a 3-year extension at $3.25 million for 3 years, so a little bit of a bridge deal there. Zach Werenski signed kind of a bridge deal as well, 3-year deal after his rookie deal at $5 million, similar to Charlie McAvoy, who also signed a similar deal at $4.9 million. Then we have the big guns again, like Cale Makar, who signed 6 years at $9 million. All right, so he's still going to sign one big ticket after all this is said and done, I believe. Then we have Quinn Hughes with the Vancouver Canucks, also similar to Makar, signed a 6-year deal, $7.8 million, again, playing his first 3 years as a rookie. Pretty much every player on this list, on this comparable list that I noted, didn't just play 1 year in the National Hockey League before signing their extension. Is it a little bit of a risk? Sure. I'm confident Brock Faber's not going to nosedive. I'm confident every team in the National Hockey League is not suddenly just going to figure him out because, let's be honest, he played enough of a sample size last year where they could have figured him out, especially with how decimated the defense was throughout the year. Congratulations to Brock Faber. That was awesome. Without further ado, let's bring on Seth Toupal from Locked On Wild. Just want to quickly give a shout out to our friends at Northland Vodka. Northland Vodka continuing to help you guys cope with the lack of hockey, with the lack of hockey news. Now, I know we got a little bit coming out of the Minnesota Wild early this week, but Northland Vodka continuing to fuel you on the golf course, be the best base for some of your favorite mixed drinks, and in my opinion, a vodka that is so incredible, you can drink that straight. You can drink it on the rocks. It has incredible flavor. The recipe is top-notch, chef's kiss, and the people at the company are amazing. Mark Parrish and the crew are awesome people. It's a local company. The product is amazing. So if you're a vodka drinker, what are you waiting for? Go pick you up some Northland today. They have a ton of meet and greets, a ton of special bottle signings at various liquor stores, at various festivals, at various locations throughout the rest of the summer. So follow them on social media at Northland Vodka to find out where they will be next. We love working with them, ladies and gentlemen. Great product, local company, and a percentage of every sale goes back into local hockey. So what are you waiting for? Go support them. Go pick you up some Northland today. Northland Vodka, a proud partner of the Soda Pod. And we're back with Seth Toupal from Locked On Wild here to talk hockey, all things hockey, and of course your Minnesota Wild. Seth, how's it going?
I am trying to avoid the heat and just the general warmth. I played 27 holes of golf on Friday. Survived, but boy, that was warm. It's bad when there's a breeze, but it's blowing hot air.
Yeah, I just got back from a run in the pouring rain, and the rain didn't cool me off at all.
No, it's just everything. Everything is warm, like that guy. That guy who ran on the Rent is Too Damn High platform a few years ago. It should be humidity is too damn high.
Can't complain though, because just before we know it, snow is going to be back. We're all going to be freezing our nuts off, and then we're all going to be complaining, wishing we had summer again. So I'll take it.
I've seen people doing the Christmas countdowns already, and I'm like,
I hate those people.
I'm gonna put you on a list.
It's just like I like every season. I appreciate every season for what it is. So I'm not going to be here complaining about the heat. I'm not going to be complaining about the cool breeze, that September breeze coming in. I'm surely not going to be complaining about snow. It is what it is. So take it all in and enjoy every season, ladies and gentlemen.
All in good time.
Just make sure you got a nice fan or AC so you don't literally melt. Oh man. All right, let's start this week with some notable signings in the NHL. Now, they're all RFA signings. One of them being a Minnesota Wild signing as well. But let's start with a few big name sets. We're not going to go through all the list here, but let's go through some pretty big names here and just react to them, talk about them, and then we'll get to a certain Wild player at the end of the list. But let's start with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Goaltender for the Buffalo Sabres. Looks like he is going to be their guy. He's 25 years of age, and he just signed with the Buffalo Sabres. 5 years, $23.75 million. That comes to a $4.75 million cap hit. How do you like this deal?
This is an interesting one for me because he was kind of an unknown. And you have a guy who I think a lot of people in Buffalo circles expected that Devin Levy was going to be their guy of the future. And Pekka Luukkonen just put together a really solid season and ended up, just vaulting up the charts because they had Eric Comrie too in their goalie room last year. And he really solidified the position down the stretch and had, I think he was 8th in the league in save percentage down the stretch. And, looks like all of a sudden a guy that they can build around. And the interesting one for me here is how closely does Jesper Wallsted's post ELC deal mirror this? Because the Minnesota Wild obviously are going to want to lock him in, and recent trends with young players for the Minnesota Wild have been to sign them to longer term deals where you're paying a little bit more on the front end, but you are saving money on the back end. And, that 4.75, if they believe that Jesper's the guy, that feels pretty close to what he could get as a bona fide starter. And so that'll be the thing that I'm most interested to see is what this means for Jesper. But for Buffalo, this is great because now you've got Levy in the system too. And so all of a sudden, if both guys perform and develop the way they hope, all of a sudden you got a nice 1-2 punch similar to what we saw in Boston with Allmark and Swayman. That could work out.
It's an interesting and similar developmental trajectory in that, his first few games of the Buffalo Sabres, he's only got a handful, went back to the minors, played as, pretty much their top guy there, or split time with their top guy there is the 1B, had another cup of coffee, which people shouldn't be upset if Wallstedt only gets 9 or 10 games this year, given that the Wild have 2 goalies. They don't need him yet, right? And then had his first big year, then had his second big year, right? So like his trajectory could mirror that of Wallstedt's to a T in the amount of games played. And you mentioned that he came out of nowhere. I remember him, as someone in Canada in 2018-19 watching all juniors. And I remember being like a super big draft nerd back then as well. And I knew who this guy was coming out of the OHL. I mean, goalies who get drafted in the second round, that's like goalies who were drafted in the first round 10, 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Shoot, maybe even 20 years ago now. So I always knew he was really good, but in his first AHL, or I guess his first pro year, he didn't do as well as expected, and then went and played pro overseas. And that's when he came back, it was like, whoa, okay, yeah, he is the real deal. And that's when he really started to cook. But I like that kind of comparison. I like that point that you brought up, because again, looking at his career thus far, it could be pretty similar in that he had a cup of coffee. They looked at him a little bit more when there were some injuries. He actually played the whole year and then played pretty much the whole year again this year, and that's what earned him his contract.
And it wouldn't surprise me, too, if this first deal that Jesper signs is more of a bridge, because that's going to give you an opportunity to really look at where he's at the NHL level, because he's under contract for this year. Then he's a restricted free agent next year. And as we've talked about, Isha, you are definitely not going to have Marc-Andre Fleury on the roster next year. And so at minimum, he will be part of the conversation for that goalie room next year, whether that be as like the 1B, whether that be, however that plays out. And so it wouldn't surprise me too if the Wild decide, hey, let's do like a 2, maybe a 3, just to see kind of where he's at and where he can get to. But again, I say that, but we have seen Matt Boldy, we've seen Joel Eriksson Ek, we've seen plenty of examples of the Wilds opting to lock in these guys early, and the expectation that Brock Faber is going to get the exact same thing. So don't be surprised if they try to go with a longer term deal for Jesper and let him really work into it and turn it into a bargain.
It's going to be interesting to see how his agents play that. But
yeah.
But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Another notable name who was re-signed, Travis Konecny of the Philadelphia Flyers. He got paid, guys.
Oh, man.
$70 million contract, 8 years, 8.75 a year cap hit. Now, he's very, very good, okay? He's very good. But, man, he's putting up, like, Boldy numbers. He's putting up Boldy numbers. And so that makes the Boldy contract, from a Wild perspective, look a lot nicer. Now, he's pretty much a 30-goal scorer. And it's crazy. He had 3 24 goal seasons back-to-back-to-back. One of those was in a 66 games played season, though. So if you can imagine, if he played more games, he would have gotten over 30 goals. Took a little step back in the goal production this year, but Philly was so bad in 2021, 2022. This last year, 60 games, point per game, 68 points in 76 games and 230 goals. So I would assume that at this stage in his career, if he did play the full 82, like he would be an 80-point getter. So I guess that warrants almost $9 million. Maybe I'm just still stuck in like 5 to 10 years past, where like when you sign a player to this, like they're like Alex Ovechkin, Sidney Crosby level, which Konecny isn't, but he is a damn good player. He is a bona fide top player. He is a player that you're going to build around. It was just surprising to be like, damn, I was expecting like 7.5, not necessarily that 8.7.
Yeah, this was a little bit higher than I anticipated he would be getting. And like you said, he's a huge piece to the puzzle for this Philadelphia team. He's led them in scoring 3 straight seasons. And you look at all the young players that are on that team that will be part of the mix. And, you've got just so much young talent on that team. And you've got Matvei Michkov, who will be part of the puzzle too. And this is kind of what that affords you to be able to do is if you have a bunch of guys on entry-level contracts, you can afford to pony up money for some of your other key guys that are a big part of the equation. As with all contracts of this length, you worry about what's going to happen in the final, say, 3 years of this. I'm not super worried about the production for the first, probably 4 years of this deal. But after that, then you kind of worry about where things are at.
Because we're 35, right? So it's not too bad because at 27, this is when I guess you're still okay at locking someone down that long. But I don't think he's going to be a point per game player at 35.
No. What's going to be interesting, again, to kind of tie it to the Minnesota Wild, what's going to be interesting is what will Matt Boldy's second contract look like?
Oh, it's going to be a lot.
he'll be 28 by the time his current deal is done. And if you use this deal again as kind of a benchmark, it's going to be way higher than that because
he's going to want $9 million.
Matt
$9
Boldy,
million over 8 years.
He's already been a 30-goal scorer as a 22-year-old, and you expect that he's just going to continue to add stuff to his game. 9.5, 10. Again, we're going to get a really interesting look at how these next contracts are going to play out for players just by seeing the market kind of set itself up with some of these other deals.
Oh, absolutely. He's going to, if he continues to put up 30 plus goal seasons, he's going to get paid.
Yeah.
A contract here that I liked, and we're going to talk about two of them coming from the Columbus Blue Jackets, starting with Kent Johnson. Now, I haven't seen a bridge deal kind of like this for a forward in a while, Seth. Kent Johnson, absolute stud coming from the BCHL. I remember watching him in the BCHL, absolutely tear it up with the Trail Smoke Eaters. 101 points, 41 goals in 52 games in his final season there. Had two amazing seasons at the University of Michigan, and then jumped right to the Columbus Blue Jackets, where in his first full season, a respectable 40 points and 16 goals for the talented sniper. Regressed a little bit last year, but there was just so much wrong with the Columbus Blue Jackets last year. Yeah. Front office, coaching, just everything, right? So played 42 games, only 16 points, went down to the minors, and you could really see that he's too good for the minors. I mean, that was evident in his first full year, but he absolutely torched in Cleveland, 15 points. In 10 games. He signs a 3-year bridge deal, total $5.4 million at a $1.8 million cap hit. So he's staying with the big club now moving forward, which I think is awesome. He's 21 years of age. It was proven that he's too good for the AHL, despite him going through some growing pains. I love this deal because once he's 24 years old, and assuming he continues to do well, it's going to be a win-win. He's going to make bank, and unlike the possible Boldy extension, the Konecny extension, he's still going to be relatively young when he signs that big deal.
I'm going to use a third tie to the Minnesota Wild, because who's another player that is going to be eligible for an extension here relatively soon? Marco Rossi. And you look at Kent Johnson, if he ends up being like a 20 to 25 goal guy over the next couple of years, this is an absolute bargain.
Dude, I think he has the potential to be like a 30, and I think 30 is safe. He could be a 40. He is a goal scorer, man.
And it's just, another young piece that the Blue Jackets have, and you hit it right on the head. Last year was just a mess. And it started before the year even began with Mike Babcock being let go. And then you're behind the 8 ball pretty much the entire way after that, because you're bringing in a coach on short notice, don't really have time to establish your entire system. That's part of the process that I don't think a lot of people talked about, is because of how close that happened to the start of the season. What are you installing if you're the head coach of the Blue
Jackets? There's no system. There's no direction. you got disgruntled stars who are like, man, I signed here and nothing's happening. Laine went through some mental health issues, checked himself into the NHL Players Assistance Program. Like, it was just everything that could go wrong, like, went wrong. New GM, like, it was a complete turnover of a year. And they didn't plan it to be. Like, they went in thinking, okay, we have a plan. And then, like, a few weeks before the season started, oh yeah, throw it all out the window.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what Dean is able to do to kind of right the ship and to just give all these young guys and everybody on the roster just some structure. Like that's I think going to be the biggest benefit that he brings to the table. And so Kent Johnson's going to be a piece of that. Where he plays in the lineup, I guess we'll wait and see. But it's going to be interesting to see, because I feel like if you were to put together a similar deal for Rossi, 1.8 feels very low. Like if you're
Rossi's making more. He's already proved that he's like. Well, the thing is, I take that back. Actually, it depends on how he plays this year. Now, if he plays to the point where like they have to send him down, then it's like, okay, now we could get a similar deal. But I honestly think he's going to have the exact same numbers this year or better. Right?
Honestly, I think
I could see 60 points this year from him. I really could.
Oh, easy. I feel like Rossi is a good candidate to just build off of what he did this past year, because we saw it late in the season where he started to kind of move away from the net a little bit with his shot. As he adds that to the arsenal, because he's already very good at going to the net. As he adds a little range to his game, that's where you go to 25 goals, approach 30. And so, I feel like he could almost get double what Kent Johnson is getting.
Yeah, me too.
In a short bridge, but we'll as with all of these, we'll wait and see.
Yeah. Another signing for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and I really like this one. Not Kirill Kaprizov, Kirill Marchenko, who an interesting story, as a lot of these Russian prospects are. Interesting route to the National Hockey League, drafted in 2018 in the second round. He played a lot of time playing for the AHL of Russia in the VHL, also for the Russian Junior League in the MHL, and for the KHL team. And he produced at every step in the Russian Junior League, the Russian, minor league, and in the KHL, the second best hockey league in the world. Came over in 2022, 2023, played 59 games for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and kind of like Jason Zucker with the Minnesota Wild, 21 goals, 4 assists in 59 games. Just absolutely dominated in the goal scoring department. And that same year played a little bit with the Cleveland Monsters, where he was over point per game, 19 points in 16 games played. Proved that he is here to stay in the National Hockey League, putting up 42 points, 23 goals in 78 games. So he is a bona fide goal scorer, and I think just a gift for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I don't think that they expected him to be this good. I think when they drafted him, they knew that, okay, he has goal scoring potential. I mean, look at him at every single level produced in the goal scoring department. But wow, did they get a good player here? And they signed him to a 3-year deal, $11.5 million at $3.85 a season for a goal scorer who's right now, like he could be a 30 goal scorer for the next 3 years. And to get him at under $4 million, wow, what a deal. What a deal.
Yeah, and you look at, Daily Faceoff's got him on the top line with Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan, at least right now. And so there are going to be a ton of opportunities for him to build off of those numbers and to get, more towards a 50, 55, 60-point player. And if he's able to do that, if he's able to just keep kind of, climbing the ladder, like one step at a time, that's where the value comes in. And in regards to him not being a guy that Columbus was potentially hit, that they had expectations for, that's when you start to make improvements, is when you have your guys that you expect do their thing, and you get some guys that you didn't really know what you were going to have with them that put up really good numbers. That's where the lineup starts to really fill itself out.
Absolutely. Last but not least, playing not necessarily for the Minnesota Wild this season, but for your Iowa Wild for sure, at least to start. Graeme Clarke. And Seth, we were talking about potentially what his contract would look like. Were the Wild going to play hardball and try to lock him up to a multi-year two-way deal in 2 or 3 years so that if he popped this year in the AHL and they had to bring him up and he did well in the NHL, well, they could still get bang for their buck on him, paying him under $1 million for him to actually produce at the National Hockey League level and be a stud in the minors, which again, if I'm Billy Guerin, if I'm the management group, that's exactly what they were trying to do. At least get 2 years out of him. Dude, credit to his agent, man. Credit to his motherfucking agent. 1 year deal. 1 year deal, $800,000 at the National Hockey League level, $105,000 at the AHL level. Dude, kid's making a freaking doctor salary playing AHL hockey now. Dude, you got it. And it's only for 1 year. So he's likely going to sign a really good deal next year, or at least has the potential to sign a one-way deal next year and is not locked into a two-way deal for the next 2 or 3 years potentially. Given the fact that, like, you, myself, and I think a lot of fans know that, like, this kid's going to be good. He's likely going to be in the NHL eventually. He's going to be a call-up guy this year, and he's going to absolutely torch the minors if he stays there predominantly this year. Again, from like a Wild's perspective, sure, you'd probably want him bang for your buck. You probably want him to have the multi-year deal, but I'm happy for him, and I'm blown away that his agent was able to get this done. Yeah,
this is what this basically tells me is that he wants to see how things go here, and if there is an opportunity for him to do what he couldn't do in New Jersey. Now, New Jersey has a lot of young talent on their roster, and obviously over the last 2 years, he's put up very impressive numbers, but there just weren't a ton of opportunities at the NHL level for him to work into the lineup. And so now that he's here, they're going to see, him and his agent are going to see if there's an opportunity for him to crack the lineup beyond this year. Just want to kind of see how things play out. And the thing that I like, he's got 200 plus shots each of the last 2 seasons. So he is a guy that just lets it rip whenever he's got it. But on an Iowa Wild level, he's probably the centerpiece of the offense. Like, you look at all the players that could potentially be down there, he's the guy that probably has the most, like, finished game of some of these offensive prospects. And so there's a real opportunity that he lights it up exactly as he has over the last couple of years here.
I think him, Sop, and Walker are going to be the top 3 scorers on the team. I really have high hopes for that Sop kid. Even though it's going to be his first year pro, I don't know. From what I've been watching, and I know it's just been in the OHL, but I think he's going to be something special. Even if it's just AHL level right now, because he can't be called up. He just signed an AHL contract.
Okay. Credit to Matt Hendricks for what has been put together for this Iowa Wild roster this year. Last year we saw a team that just didn't really have a ton of depth because the Minnesota Wild used most of it for pretty much the entire season. And you've got names now on the roster, and I know these are like former NHL guys, you know, Travis Boyd, you've got Devin Shore, Brendan Gaunce, some of these guys that have just been brought in for organizational depth.
Shout out to former first round Vancouver pick Brendan Gaunce.
He's here and he's ready. But like these are going to be the players that Clarke is competing with for spots on the NHL roster. And I look at it this way. If you suffer an injury in your bottom 6, it's probably more likely that one of those guys gets called up to fill a spot. But if you would suffer an injury in your top 6 and you'd need somebody that can shoot and can score, that's probably a better opportunity for Graeme Clarke to get a look.
Yeah, for those who aren't watching on YouTube, I had his hockey DB up. Last season, the AHL, 67 games played, 25 goals, 24 assists for 49 points. He was a +10. The year prior, 68 games played, another 25 goals, 33 assists for 58 points, +5. And the year before, in his, I guess not his first full year, because he played 31 games the year prior to that. Actually, he split games in Zurich or in Slovakia and in the AHL. But regardless, and I'll just say in his first full AHL year, 52 games, played 10 goals, 14 points or 14 assists for 24 points. And he was a +2 as well. Played in 2 playoff series for the Jurco Comets in 2021 and in 2022, and he produced in both of those series. He was actually point per game in 2022, 2023, putting up 6 points in 6 games. So he is one of the better AHL players. Like, he's a top player in the AHL. Played 3 games for the New Jersey Devils. From what I've read, the scouting report was good. Didn't put up any points. Yeah, I'm just excited. I'm excited for him. I'm happy that he's getting paid, even though I'm sure Minnesota Wild fans are going to be like, Isha, why are you cheering for that? We want we want the deal. And sure, I get that perspective, which is why I talked about it. But, dude, kid's making $105 grand in the AHL. Shout out to him.
That's lawyer money right there.
Dude, unbelievable. All right, let's talk about another big piece of news here, Seth. Patrik Laine cleared by the NHL and NHLPA Players Assistant Program. He did check himself into the program earlier this year. He was saying that to get back to just to get back to himself, to get back to loving the game of hockey, he has to take care of himself. He had to take care of his mental health, and that he really needed to get his stuff in order before he was able to not only produce, but just get his skates on, get to the ice, and play to his contract, play to a level where he can entertain the fans and help his team win. It looks like he's doing a lot better, which is awesome. Right, that's what we want to hear. And the Columbus Blue Jackets are now in the process of taking calls and potentially moving him. Now, earlier this year, along with himself checking himself into the Players Assistance Program, he also made it known to the Columbus Blue Jackets organization that he did want a fresh start. This will be his second destination, or his third destination once moved, as he was drafted by the Winnipeg Jets. And boy, did he ever hit the ground running with the Winnipeg Jets. Now, the Winnipeg Jets are actually a pretty damn good team when he joined them. Now, I know his first year with them, obviously they drafted so high for a reason. They weren't that good, but his second, third, and fourth year with the Winnipeg Jets, they were playoff teams. And so he came into a roster that had a lot of good players where they could, I don't want to say shelter him, but give him matchups where he could succeed. And he did just that. In his first year, 36 goals, 64 points, 28 assists. They did not make the playoffs that year, but in his second year, Seth, and what a run they went on in that second year as well. In 2017-18, man, I thought they were going to win the Stanley Cup. Those pesky Vegas Golden Knights. 82 game season, 44 goals, career high thus far, 26 assists for 70 points. And he had 5 goals and 7 assists in 17 playoff games as well. The next year, 68 games played, another 82-point season. We had 30 goals, 50 points, and then the next year didn't even really regress either. In 68 games, had 28 goals. Like, imagine if he played the full season, man, he would have probably been closer to that 40-goal mark. So the kid can score. The kid's got a hell of a shot. He's never been super quick. His skating is more of like long strides versus like explosiveness. And his hockey IQ isn't the greatest, but like, he's one of those players, get him the puck in his office and he'll be able to score. He's hard to knock off the puck too because he is strong. But again, that's a positive, but the negative of that is he's not like soaring through the neutral zone, carrying the puck and then just like letting one go. You kind of have to find him and get him involved in the play in the offensive zone, get him the puck, and he's the last play in the scheme, sort of thing. Upon leaving the Winnipeg Jets, being traded to the Columbus Blue Jackets, I don't want to say completely fell off, but did not have a good casting crew around him. The Columbus Blue Jackets were not the Winnipeg Jets. They still aren't the Winnipeg Jets. And he didn't vibe as well with the coaching staff there either. Now, not as bad as Pierre-Luc Dubois. He had a way better relationship with John Tortorella than Pierre-Luc Dubois. But it just didn't work out in Columbus, clearly. Now, he's just coming off shoulder surgery as well, and obviously some mental health issues. And so teams are taking that into account as they're making calls to inquire about him. But I said it, when he came into the Winnipeg Jets organization upon being drafted second overall, good pieces around him, and not necessarily the top line guy yet. So like, there's a lot of confidence there, right? And that clearly showed in his play. Going to Columbus, I mean, you're going from Winnipeg to Columbus. I mean, not from one gloomy city to another. Let's just be perfectly honest here. And did not have that casting crew around him, and was coming off maybe a year where his confidence was a little bit shot. So clearly, those factors have to be taken into account into why he wasn't that 44 goal scorer, that 36 goal scorer coming right into the National Hockey League around good pieces on a team that was just on the rise. You go from a team on the rise as a young kid with confidence to a team on the downward trajectory in not an upgrade of an environment. Let's be perfectly honest. Well, actually, anywhere is an upgrade compared to Winnipeg, but still. Don Waddell, GM of the Columbus Blue Jackets, Seth, has said that he wants to trade him in a hockey trade. He wants to trade him potentially for only like 2 players coming back who can play on the Columbus Blue Jackets roster, or a 1-for-1 player. He's not trading him for a package deal of prospects. So that's an important thing to note. Also, he has a Laine anyways, has 2 years left on his deal that pays him $8.7 million a year. A little Travis Konecny deal, not a big deal. And he has a limited no trade that that can only allow him to be moved to 10 teams. So realistically, unless he waives, which is totally a possibility, there's 10 teams that Laine has on his list. They have to be able to accommodate his contract. And Don Waddell wants either 2 pieces back or 1 of similar value. So with all that being said, Seth, is this even possible for the Minnesota Wild? And A, and then B, is it even worth the Minnesota Wild inquiring about this?
I mean, so Laine is obviously a goal scorer. Like,
an elite goal scorer.
He is a high impact offensive talent. Couple of the hurdles that I worry about here. He obviously has a bit of an injury history, which is, it just once it starts to pile up, it's just always going to be a concern. I don't worry as much about the locker room stuff that has been either reported or not reported, because there were the same. It seems like it happens every time a player's in an environment that's not winning enough.
Yeah, because in Winnipeg, they loved him. He was an absolute star, right? There was nothing negative coming out of his time in Winnipeg. Columbus, bro, again, like nothing but toxicity the last few years.
And this is the same kind of stuff that happened with Jack Eichel too. Like there were the same sorts of rumors about being bad in the locker room with him in Buffalo, and look at how quickly those evaporated after he left.
He just wanted to win.
So I don't worry about that stuff as much. Where I have concerns, and I've seen this voiced on X plenty, like you're not really getting much on the defensive side of the ice too. And so you're going to have to put him into the lineup with, if the Wild were going to make the trade, here's what I would do. You put him on either the same line as Kirill Kaprizov with Joel Eriksson Ek, where you get that defensive center that can kind of help take some of that responsibility. Or if you are going to try to get Matt Zuccarello going with Kirill, then you put him on the line with Matt Boldy and Joel Eriksson Ek, so that you get a little defensive presence on that line to kind of assist in that aspect. But like you talked about, the fact that Waddell wants to do like a good old-fashioned hockey trade
doesn't
Which, fair
want
enough. Fair enough. Like I don't blame him for that at all. You want a piece in there who can play. You don't want to keep building. You have young guys coming up. You don't want to wait anymore.
For this to work, the Wild would have to offer probably Philip Gustafsson, Freddie Gaudreau, and
already too much. Already too much. That's already too much. He wants 2 or 1 piece. He'd want Eriksson Ek back straight up, in my opinion. Which again, I don't want that. I'm just like that's the type of trade I think he would want, right?
No, the fact that they don't want to retain salary, there really is no way that the Wild can do this because they can't take on that salary without.
He'd want Baldi straight up. He'd want Ek straight up, or he'd want like Rossi and like Hartman's probably not even enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, it'd be something like that.
He's going to go to a team that has, a team that just popped out of my head right away is like Anaheim. They have a ton of young talent.
Oh, yep.
Anaheim at this point is looking for some premier players to put at the top of that lineup. So maybe you do like a Patrik Laine for Trevor Zegras type thing. Something along those lines. That would be more what Waddell is looking for in return. Just like what the Flyers did with Cutter Gauthier. You're looking for somebody that can impact the lineup right away. Anaheim has a ton of talent to be able to do it. San Jose has a ton of talent to be able to do it. Honestly, maybe Montreal too. All these teams have young players and cap space to be able to take the deal. They can take him in, no problem.
I like Montreal even more than San Jose, but maybe Laine doesn't want to go somewhere cold again. Maybe he doesn't want to go to the West Coast. But if he goes to San Jose, you're going to be losing for a few more years. Whereas Anaheim, they're going to pop sooner than San Jose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're trying to get themselves back up, and they have enough young talent to be able to move a few pieces to get somebody that can help them now. Yeah. So that'd be more, I think, in line with what Columbus is trying to do.
I'd say Chicago too, but they don't have anybody to trade for him.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If they had one other piece, then it's you trade that one other piece, you put him with Bedard and 50 goals, baby.
Yeah. Columbus wants somebody that is young and ready.
They want just another between 25 and 30-year-old who is a top 6 player. That's what they want. Or a third, 2 third liners if you're looking at the value sort of thing.
Yeah. And I just, the Wilds
or top defenseman, right? And again, the Wild don't have anyone to move there anyways. They would ask for Brock Faber, which the Wild would not give them, right? So
yeah, well, and I don't see it happening for.
Yeah, I don't think the Wild could do it, nor do I think they should do it either.
Yeah, if Columbus was willing to retain a portion of that salary, I'd say do it. But
it's only two years, but.
Yeah,
but even then, it's just then you're taking away a spot for these young guys. That what's the point of building this prospect pool, Seth, if these guys are just gonna be either walk to free agency or traded as RFAs, right?
Well, yeah, and then because then you bring Laine in, and that muddies the water for Danila Yurov next year too. So at this point, I would rather just keep that seat warm and have Yurov be able to hop in immediately next season. But again, because of what they're looking for, I don't think we're going to have to even worry about it, thankfully.
Yeah. Just wanted to talk about that because I know even in some of our group chats, there's been people who are for it. There's been people who are against it. Again, I'm not hardball against it. If they made it work and they didn't give up the pieces that we talked about, then okay, cool. But that's a lot of ifs. That's if Don Waddell can retain salary, if we don't have to give up Eriksson Ek, Baldi, Rossi, Faber, which you're gonna give up one of those guys. I don't want to give up any of those guys. And if another piece is moved to somebody else after, so a young guy can still come over next year, whether that's Yurov or still this year, whether that's Ugrin and Height. One of the two or both, right? So it's just there's just too much. There's too many variables for this to work with the Minnesota Wild. as good of a goal scorer as he is. And for all you complainers out there who hate Matt Baldi for no fucking reason, they have a goal scorer in Baldi. They have a goal scorer in Kaprizov. They have a goal scorer in Rossi. And Eriksson Ek also scores 30 goals. Like, I don't get these people who say Baldi's a horrendous player. It makes no fucking sense, dude. It makes no fucking sense. It makes no fucking sense at all.
I don't get it.
What's his two-way game? Jesus Christ, his two-way game's actually really good.
He metrics show. I looked at this because The Athletic ranked the top 10 most like bargainy contracts in the entire league, and Matt Baldi's like 8th because his two-way game is like defensively. He is way better than any of us give him credit for.
Passes the eye test and analytics, yet these fucking people on their keyboards, I still want to hate on him because the Wild didn't make the playoffs. God, these miserable fucking hockey fans, dude.
It's okay to in one sense appreciate what Matt Baldi already brings to the table and say there is still more that he can add to his game. That is why you're a journalist and I'm just a YouTuber. Because that's kind of what I wanted to say, but I was just very aggressive in the way I said it. Yeah, that's the approach you should take. Is Matt Baldi is a very good player right now, but he has things that he can certainly add to his game.
All right, two just quick little things here, Seth, before we wrap up. I don't know if you remember this story that went down in Davos earlier this year during the Spengler Cup tournament, where Davos, obviously the best team in the Swiss A hockey league, a former Detroit Red Wings draft pick who bounced around the league after just not being able to put it all together with the Detroit Red Wings, last played with the Vegas Golden Knights before going over to the KHL, then signing with Davos in 2023-2024. There were rumblings of NHL teams interested in bringing him back over to the National Hockey League. That is Thomas Jurco. Again, Thomas Jurco, pretty highly touted in Detroit, was given a lot of opportunity. Again, didn't really work out there, bounced around, didn't work out in Chicago, didn't work out in Edmonton. He did, by the way, though, win an AHL Cup where he was a point per game in the playoffs. So, like, just hasn't been able to take that next step to the National Hockey League Pro. Went over to the KHL. Actually was a stud for the Chinese team in the KHL. Yes, there is a Chinese team, Kunlun Red Star, in the KHL. Billionaire owner who I heard Brandon Yip on Spit and Chicklets say that he actually redoes his carpet in his private jet every month because he just spits on his fucking carpet because he's just that rich. He doesn't give a shit, which is disgusting, but also, damn, that's how the rich people live in a gross ass way. But anyways, I digress. After his year in Kunlun, he signed with Davos and had a pretty good start to the season there. But during the Spengler Cup, there was an incident in a 5-3 victory, no less. There was an incident with his coach, which right after that incident, Davos made a statement saying that Jurco requested to be released from his contract. They allowed it, and he went to Omsk in the KHL and continued to put up good numbers, 8 goals, 8 assists. And because of his last year in the Swiss A and the KHL, apparently there was a lot of NHL teams this summer who were inquiring about his services, but it turns out he's actually going to go back to China and play for Kunlun. But this was the incident, Seth, and let me jog your memory here. Him and his coach in Davos at that time, Josh Holden. Let me know if you think this is just heated hockey coach or inappropriate behavior.
Beneficiaries of an excellent non-goal call by Josh Holden.
So apparently he kind of, gave a little lip to his coach after he was really telling him to stay active out there and not take any shifts off or anything like that. But they were winning the game. So I don't know. It caused a lot of controversy on social media. I remember a lot of people were like, bro, like that's hockey. Like we've seen Tortorella go crazy on the bench too, and then like go to bat for every single one of his players, right? This was in the Spengler Cup tournament too. This wasn't just like a regular season game. But anyways, you remember when this went down, and do you think it was warranted, A, that behavior, and B, him leaving the team?
I feel like when a coach grabs a player is kind of when that gray area starts to come in.
Yeah, if they're yelling at each other, I feel like that's just A, that's just boys, and B, it's sometimes that's just sometimes what the players need.
Because like the thing that jumps out to me about that video is, you know, Jurco throws a little bit of an elbow after
get the fuck off me.
Yeah, after he initially gets grabbed. And so I think that tells you really all you need to know about whether it was warranted or not. I mean, I like heat of the moment happens at every level, up and down. I mean, I've been caught up in it too. Like it just happens when you are in full tilt, like game mode. I just feel like when you physically grab somebody to try to get your point across is when it's like, yeah, that probably wasn't necessary. But I mean, it is interesting that it looks like he's going back to the spot in which Jurco is, that he had his most success. And I think that probably, speaks to just wanting at this point to go to a spot where he can perform well and
get paid. Because let's be honest, if he comes over to North America, he's probably getting a 2-way contract.
Yeah, I would agree. Just tough having not really caught on at any particular spot. I say if it's me, I'm definitely chasing the bag wherever I end up.
Yeah, because if he played a full season in Kunlun, he probably would have led the team in points. It's funny that Brandon Yip that year actually was still playing, and he had 42 points in 59 games. But I mean, he's probably going to make like the equivalent of like $3-4 million playing in Kunlun as a second liner.
That's a pretty good payday.
Yeah, plus whatever else that billionaire owner is going to give them. I'm sure his signing bonus there to not come back to North America was good, or to not go to any other KHL team, because I don't think Kunlun is a very good KHL team. They bring a lot of, well, I mean, they bring a lot of Asian Americans, Asian Canadians over there as well, because they want to sell it to their Chinese fans, so it makes sense. But bringing over some international talent who has NHL experience, who has KHL experience, and who has straight up experience playing for that team before, who knows the system, who knows the travel, because that's the craziest thing for that team is the travel. Dude, there was a Canadian women's hockey team that was in China at one point. Riddle me that. Yes, that is right. The Canadian Women's League, before obviously the PWHL, before that one folded, they had a team in Kunlun, China, same owner, and they would have to come over to Canada, play, like stay there for like almost a month, play all the teams, and then vice versa. All the teams would have to come there and play like 4 or 5 games. No shit, it didn't work.
Jeez, that is bizarre.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. Maybe I'll make a video sometime on just like how like the rise and fall of of that team and just that league in general. And I believe that team still would have folded even if the former American League and Canadian Women's League merged, because they were always like neck and neck, which thank God now that there's like some, well, I mean, there's a whole new league that has both American and Canadian teams. Before, if those two leagues would have just merged, I guess we wouldn't have seen what is now the success of the PWHL outside of the Minnesota. I can't believe I'm going to say this for the championship team, but outside of the Minnesota market, which is just a whole other story. But yeah, crazy stuff there. Crazy stuff. All right. Last but not least, Seth, Jaromír Jágr is going to play one more. Well, he hasn't even said it's one more year. He's going to play another year of professional hockey at 52 years of age. He's officially passed Gordie Howe as the oldest pro hockey player to play a full to play a full season and to be going to play a full season, that same category. He actually plans to play again in 2024, 2025, and not as a relief player, because last year he actually had to come in and play, I think it was 17 games in relief because his team had so many injuries and they didn't have enough roster players. So he had to, as the owner and manager of the Kladno Division 2 league, he had a Division 2 team. He had to play, and he wasn't in the best shape. He was in manager shape, not quite Billy Guerin manager shape, but he was in manager shape. He said this summer he's been training like he trained as an elder NHL player in the offseason. He's got the freaking weight shirts on, skating at crazy hours at night. He's put in a whole summers of work. He said that he's down at minimum 15 pounds and hasn't lost a lick of muscle at all. And he's training and going through the exact same summer training regimens and programs as Pasternak, Nikash, and Savenka. So studs in the National Hockey League. Nikash and Pasternak in particular, right? So that's huge. That's huge. Now, do I think he's going to like get a bunch of points this year and be like the star of his team? No, but like the fact that he's still going to be probably a solid third or maybe even second liner, that's crazy, man.
It's insane. It leads me to wonder if Jaromír Jágr is actually the Terminator. Like just doesn't slow down, and just I can't imagine even like playing like once in a while in my 50s. Granted, I'm not in that shape, but imagine
like
just
pro hockey, like pro hockey. Not even just like men's league.
It's so much more of a commitment above like a beer league team. It's just insane that he is able to do it. But you're talking about one of the ultimate competitors in NHL history. And I think that fire just has never gone out for him. I can't
believe ESPN left him off their all-time athlete list.
Well, I wouldn't put too much stock in the four-letter network doing anything these days because, well, reasons. Yeah, the fact that his hockey DB page is as long as it is just nuts.
Dude, it's wild. It is absolutely wild. So he played 15 games last year in relief, not 17. Before then, actually still produced 14 points in 26 games. Insane. And when he left the Calgary Flames, again, he manages Kladno almost full time now. His dad owned the team, and his dad, getting older, wasn't able to do it anymore. So he's managing the organization, and he was still playing. But it's crazy that in 2019-20 was 29 points, 15 goals in 38 games. That's crazy, dude.
He scored 27 goals with the Florida Panthers in 2015, 2016. And if I did the math correct, he was like 43.
Oh, dude, with Florida, like I remember Barkov saying like he would go to the facilities at like 1, 2 a.m. to have like no distractions and just put on weight suits and just do laps and drills. And he'd bring in his own trainers, not just the team trainers, because like they're obviously sleeping. His comeback to the National Hockey League, man, I remember that shit. He came back to the Philadelphia Flyers after playing in Omsk for a little while. And this was right before the lockout, and like dominated that year, playing on the top line with Giroux and Voracek.
Unbelievable.
And then, small stint in Dallas. He was traded at the deadline to Boston, played 2 years in New Jersey, where he's again a top player, and then was a top player in Florida too. Didn't end up working out with the Calgary Flames, but at that point, I mean, Father Time is undefeated. Almost. Father Time is defeated a little bit, but yeah.
This is wild. Father Time. Father Time's getting frustrated at just how many rounds his battle with Jaromír Jágr is going. Like,
dude, it's like some of those. It's like Dempsey in boxing, right? Back in the day when he was like 40, 50 years old, fighting those unlimited rounds and for like getting bruised and battered in those fights, but still answering the bell. And they're like, why are you still getting punches in? How are you still standing? Right. And and how are you still winning a round or two? You know what I mean? It's wild. It's wild. I will say though, as much as we're like glazing Jágr over here and well deserved, the fans of Kladno haven't been necessarily happy with him as taking over managing the team. They, especially because he was forced into playing last year, they actually blamed him for mismanaging the team so bad that they didn't have players in relief, that he actually had to step down from the GM office and get on the ice. To snap back at the fans a little bit here, he said, Jágr was quote saying to the Hockey News, anyone who's never been in a hockey dressing room doesn't really understand, because every fan wishes there were 5 or 6 lines here, he said, but then it's not pleasant in the dressing room when there are players who know they won't play. Chemistry and balance are important. I don't know how many of the fans have played team sports, but there's a certain rivalry within the team. The mood has to remain positive. Everything must fit together. So, like, fair enough. You don't want to overcrowd it, so you have guys who are literally just in relief. But at the same time, you got to have at least a few for when the injury bug hits, and even if it's just young players, right? But again, I'm not super versed on how the Czech league works. Maybe there wasn't enough players in the Division 2 to call up. Maybe there's no like junior affiliated organization. And maybe there's just not enough people just to like pull off the street and be like, yo, you play hockey, get suit up for a few grand here.
I would imagine it's probably something along those lines. I'd be shocked if there was any sort of a feeder system or farm team to go along with this. And so people
they
probably
do have the Division 2, but like again, I don't know what their call up and send down rules are. And again, what if they were injured as well, or what if they had exhausted all the call ups, right?
I mean, we saw it with Minnesota this last year. Yeah. A lot of injuries can really throw a wrench into everything organization wide.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to do it here for today, Seth. What do you got coming up on Locked On Wild?
We got a couple of crossovers coming up this week, and just continuing to power through the off season. I am going to, because I was doing Prospect Week last week and then had a few hosts from other shows that wanted to do crossovers. So it turned into crossover week. So I'm going to do my organizational depth chart for forwards and defense for the Minnesota Wild coming up this week. And as we move into August, we're starting to really turn our attention towards 2024, 2025.
Look forward to that. Thank you so much for hopping on. As always, buddy, best part of my week, linking up with Seth here from Locked On Wild. Big shout out to Seth Toupal for jumping on another episode as always. Just wanted to clarify one quick thing that we both didn't mention, and actually that I learned about listening to a couple hockey shows that I listen to at the start of every week. Despite Patrik Laine being in the NHLPA Players Assistance Program, the Columbus Blue Jackets still could have traded him, despite him being part of the program. The thing is, other teams weren't allowed to talk to him, or the Columbus Blue Jackets weren't able to give other teams permission to talk to him while he was under the Players Assistance Program. So I just wanted to clarify that. And one other thing, Don Waddell is actually open to retaining salary. Seth and I were operating under the assumption that he probably wouldn't. But with only 2 years left on the deal and confirmation from Sekeres and Price, check out the Sekeres and Price show if you care about the Vancouver Canucks, or, they do talk about hockey as a whole as well in a few segments. They're one of my go-to, again, Canucks fan here and just hockey fan in general. I still have, a connection to British Columbia sports a little bit there. So they're one of my go-tos, which is why I listen to them as well. But yeah, so they did confirm that Don Waddell is open to retaining salary, but wants still a hockey trade. 2 roster pieces back or 1 for 1. And if it means he has to retain a little bit of salary, he's willing to do so. Likely because there's only 2 years left on the contract. So just wanted to clear that up, ladies and gentlemen. Just wanted to clear that up. Now, before we get to the Hoppy Hour, I just want to give a big shout out to our friends at 7th Avenue Pizza. 7th Avenue Pizza is the best damn pizza on the planet, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not even just going to say best damn frozen pizza, because obviously it's the best damn frozen pizza. I'm saying it's the best pizza on the planet, ladies and gentlemen. And they have a ton of deals right now everywhere. At Hy-Vee, 20% off. Jerry Foods, you can get them for $7.99. Lunds and Byerly has a deal on them as well. They're everywhere. They're seemingly everywhere now, ladies and gentlemen. So go pick one up today. And if they're not at your local grocery store, ask your grocery store why the hell they don't have 7th Avenue Pizza on the shelf. If you want to know where they will be at, because they're hosting and will be appearing at a lot of events this summer as well. And if you want to ask them about new types of pizzas that are coming out, why they aren't at a certain grocery store, if they're not there, which again, they're seemingly everywhere. They are totally interactive on social media. Hell, if you just want to share a picture of your pizza cut in triangles or squares, they will 100% interact with you, answer any questions, the whole 9 yards. Matt and the crew there are an amazing company. Awesome people. We love working with them. And again, I'm never eating any other pizza again. I'm never eating any other pizza again because I don't have to, because I have found the greatest pizza on the planet, ladies and gentlemen, and that is 7th Avenue Pizza. 7th Avenue Pizza, a proud partner of the Sota Pod. Without further ado, let's get to the Hoppy Hour.
First, I'd like to propose a toast to UMD goaltender Alex Stalock. To Stalock! To Stalock!
I love that stuff. Been drinking it for years. You know, I heard they recently decided to add more hops to it.
You're all hopped out?
Maxim, last issue.
Last issue.
Chazz Michaels is craft beer. Welcome back to another Hoppy Hour here, ladies and gentlemen, and we have a great one on tap for you here today. Some might call it a mouth-devouring sex tornado of a beer. A hazy IPA, a high percentage hazy IPA. Some might call me troubled.
If you call being a 9-year-old kid with a 35-year-old girlfriend troubled.
I'm telling you guys, this beer is the only craft beer to have won 4 national championships and win an adult film award. We have here the Barrel Theory Chazz Michaels, ladies and gentlemen, coming in at 7.5%. This is a hazy IPA with Simcoe hops. Barrel Theory with their funky but recognizable can art here. They never miss with the hazies. They never miss with any of their styles of beer. I personally love their barrel age, but anytime I have an opportunity to guzzle down a hazy IPA of theirs, you better believe that I'm excited for it as well. The names of their beers, as you can see here, I may like it a little too much being a Blades of Glory fan, is outstanding. Let's pour this shit up. I will taste it. I will review it. I will see what the community has to say on Untapped, and then we will rate it here on the video. Let's get it. Perfect pour, let's go! Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Barrel Theory, and I'm very excited to try this one. I mean, I said in the opening segment, anything Barrel Theory is usually amazing. I even like some of their sours, and I can't stand sours. That is my least favorite type of beer, my least favorite genre. And I even give Barrel Theory sours a chance because everything they do right. They are easily top 5 beers in Minnesota. Shoot, I could even argue that they're top 3, 100%. Before we dive into this one, let's take a look at the can here. Signature Barrel Theory style is they all have kind of a little black label on the bottom with their great title and then kind of a cool trippy, flashy sticker on the rest of it. So like I said, this one is a hazy IPA with Simcoe hops, 7.5%. And they've had this one for a little while. I've tried it a long time ago on tap, but I tried it when I had like a flight of their beers, when I was trying like everything all at once. And I remember it being really good, but I checked on Untapped, I checked my profile, and I'd never reviewed it. So we're officially reviewing it here. Take a look at how hazy it is, guys. Look at this. This is what a hazy IPA looks like, and my God, is it juicy. It smells so juicy. I mean, this smells exactly how you want a hazy IPA to smell. And honestly, when I cracked it open and was pouring it up, right away, the aroma was impactful. It punched you in the face, but in the best possible way. Oh, I just want to... Sorry, this isn't the Lines and Wines podcast. Let's see how sweet it is, though, because it smells juicy. It smells more juicy than it is citrusy. So here we go. Chazz Michaels, shout out to Blades of Glory, shout out to Will Ferrell, awesome movie, awesome reference, awesome brewery. Cheers, guys. Oh my God. Wow. That's good. Fucking right. This is amazing. I took a little bit of a smaller sip there because I want to be able to review it properly, not just down the whole thing and then just be a little buzzed on camera. Although I feel like I'm always a little buzzed after doing these. Juicy. Very juicy. Not super thick. Like, I wouldn't say it's rich. I wouldn't say it's thick, despite it being pretty damn hazy. It's very, very smooth. Very well balanced. There's a good bitter kick to it, but nothing like a Pacific Northwest or a West Coast IPA. Really well balanced, man. Really well balanced. So right away you get that juiciness, little bit of a bitter aftertaste, maybe a little bit dank, but honestly in like the best possible way. Oh, everything about this complements each other so well. This is a juice bomb that has that little bit of a bitter kick to it, which all IPAs should. It's not incredibly sweet. I'd say the aftertaste is a little sweet, so it's juicy. Juicy right away, then a little bit bitter, then you get a little sweetness. And then when you put down the glass, you can kind of have a little bit of that dank aftertaste. But I'm telling you, it wasn't like that dank expired Modelo I had on my MMA stream last weekend. That was... Now that it's like coated my tongue already, a little less juicy once it hits the palate. I would say the bite hits me first now, then the juiciness, but it's smooth. Like, it ends so smoothly that like, bro, I'm halfway done this already and this hasn't even been like, even an iota of a struggle to like down a beer quickly. Like, this is so dangerous. God, in the best possible way though, this is amazing. This is amazing, man. Seriously, wow. Oh my goodness. And again, some IPAs, even some that like aren't double IPAs, some hazy IPAs, even some that aren't like double hazy IPAs, they can be thick. And this one is thick, but when I was pouring it, as you guys saw, like it was relatively clearer, more clear than some of the hazy IPAs that I believe we've reviewed on this channel and that I've drank in the past. This is one of the most smooth hazy IPAs I've ever had, and that doesn't take away from how balanced it is with that little bit of bitterness and how incredibly juicy this is. Oh my goodness, and at only 7.5%, shoot man, these could be a problem. All right, let's snap a pic for Untapped. Let's see what the community has to say, and then I'm gonna rate this puppy. When my roommates move, I won't have the luxury of having all the glasses that match all the beers that I'm trying. Literally half the breweries in Minnesota are featured on this little shelf. We'll just have to switch to growlers. All right, let's snap a pic. All right, before we officially officially rate it and add it to my Untapped profile, which, by the way, follow me on Untapped, everybody. I am literally the same as I am on Twitter, at VI Sports Talk. Let's see what you, the community, have to say about this one. The average rating, oh my goodness, with over 2,400 reviews, 4.13. I have friends who've rated it 4. It seems like everybody has added that it's juicy, hoppy, smooth, sweet, dank, clean. And I can't find a low rating of this at all. I really can't. I'm scrolling through it right now. 4 out of 5. 4.25 out of 5. 4 out of 5. 4.25 out of 5. 4.5 out of 5. I have never seen someone rate a beer so high before. 4.54. I've yet to see, one person, freaking Carl D. And I've seen this guy before. Carl D must not like the hazies. He must like the hoppier stuff because he's the one who rated the last one that we did, the Dreaming Pacific Northwest IPA, so high. And I kind of called into question that. So 3 and 3.25 are the lowest. I only see one other 3, which is 3.75. Bro, the rest are all like 4 out of 5. And you know what? I have to agree. I also rated it 4 out of 5, ladies and gentlemen. And I think I've only rated like 2 or 3 beers 4 or above, and they were barrel-aged beers. I don't think I've ever rated an IPA, let alone a hazy IPA, 4 out of 5. And I say this all the time, on Untapped, if you rate anything 4 out of 5 or above, it better be one of the best beers you've ever had. And this is one of the best hazy IPAs I've had. Now, I have more Barrel Theory IPAs to review, and I imagine I'm going to rate them that high as well because I'm telling you guys, everything that this brewery does, they do S-tier level. It's truly incredible for a smaller brewery in downtown St. Paul. But that's not to say they're like some small dinky brewery. They actually have beers that you can buy at the Xcel Energy Center at Minnesota Wild games. And it's a better deal alcohol percentage-wise and by volume for the price than getting, a few McGoldens that'll cost you an arm and a leg. Anyways, let's get to my rating. I give it a 4 out of 5, ladies and gentlemen. That is right, 4 out of 5. Shout out to Barrel Theory. They've already toasted, just basically liked the post. I give it 4 out of 5. I said it was insanely smooth, well-balanced in regards to the bitter bite from an IPA and a juice bomb of a hazy. Bonus points for the name. Excellent work. I did not mark it as sweet. Because if I'm going to mark something as sweet, like what I'm telling the public is that it's damn sweet. This has a normal amount of sweetness that I'd expect in a hazy IPA. It's not incredibly sweet. Now, if it was more sweet than expected, then I would have likely wrote in that it was sweet. I wrote that it was juicy, hoppy, smooth, dank, balanced, and clean. And I couldn't find clear as a way to describe it in like the tag description notes. So I hope clean is proper. I hope clean suffices. But anyways, guys, unbelievable hazy IPA here. And again, I'm more of a West Coast IPA guy, but this is incredible. This is incredible. I've rated this higher than some really good West Coast IPAs that I've fallen in love with, both back in British Columbia and here in Minnesota. Shout out to Barrel Theory Brewing. And I'm not just giving them this high of a rating because they're a sponsor on one of the podcasts. I'm being honest here. I would tell you guys, Timmy, I would tell you if there's a beer that I thought sucked. 2 for 2 so far on these Hoppy Hour segments, my man. Timmy Johnson's one of the owners and an absolute beauty. Chazz Michaels, ladies and gentlemen. Excellent beer. There's not much more to say. There's not much more to say. If you can pick up a Barrel Theory, go and do so. But likely those who are watching who drink craft beer, you're already knee deep in the Barrel Theory, and this is nothing new to you. Hope you guys enjoyed this Hoppy Hour segment. Hope you guys enjoyed this beer review. As always, like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what types of beer you want me to try next, or what specific beer you want me to try, assuming they distribute to Minnesota. Also, let me know any types of alcohol you want me to try as well. Tier lists. I'm open to everything on this segment, guys. Thank you for staying till the end of the video. Cheers. Let me put my beer in you, baby. Y'all like poetry? That one hit the spot. Before we wrap up the show, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to give a big shout out to our friends at Better Edge. BetterEdge.com, or check out the app, is a legal betting platform in the great state of Minnesota, as well as 44 other states. And we have a present for you. That is right. If you sign up at betteredge.com/SotaPod, we will gift you a $20 sign-up bonus. That's right, betteredge.com/SotaPod, and you will be gifted a $20 signing bonus to play around with. What a deal, ladies and gentlemen. Again, a free platform in the state of Minnesota. Unbelievable. I am always on there every single week making UFC and MMA picks. But once the hockey season rolls around, I'm going to get back into making some hockey picks as well. The SotaPod, Hoppy and myself host various competitions throughout the year on that platform as well. So if you don't bet on MMA like me, but you do bet a lot on hockey, make sure to join some of our Wild Game Day Pick'em contests, our high school hockey brackets, hell, our Frozen 4 brackets. And we'll probably have some more competitions running this year as well. So check them out if you haven't already. BetterEdge.com/SotaPod. Claim your $20 signing bonus. They're also a local company. Can you see the trend here, ladies and gentlemen? We work with great local companies here that are awesome people and whose products we love and enjoy as well. And if you're already an active user on the platform, check out Better Edge Premium. Premium players have access to free entry to premium pick'em contests, order grades, advanced order filterings, API access, and more. More details at betteredge.com/premium. But if you haven't even checked out the platform yet, go to betteredge.com/SotaPod. Get your $20 signing bonus. Challenge me in my UFC picks. Better Edge, a proud partner of the SotaPod. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is it for the show. If you're listening to the podcast, as always, I will encourage you to go check us out on YouTube for the full experience of the podcast. I know I give a little bit of a Hoppy Hour segment here on the audio side of things, but we actually post a full beer tasting vlog, up to 10 to 30 minutes of multiple beer tastings if I go to a brewery or in my home little bar here, where I taste a beer, talk about it, chug a good portion of it, sometimes the whole thing, and then rate it on Untapped, while also gauging what the community has to say as well. So you do get a little bit of a Hoppy Hour segment if you're just listening on the audio version of the podcast. And again, if you're more of just an audio guy, I know my boy Shane, who listens to all the podcasts here. Shout out to my friend Shane, who's listened to every episode of the SotaPod. He's very much a Spotify guy. He's like, you know what? I listen to podcasts on Spotify. I don't watch them. I don't go on YouTube for them. And that's okay. But I'm just saying, if you guys do want to see the full beer vlogs and you want to get the full experience, visual experience, Seth and I on camera talking, my beautiful face, then check us out on YouTube. I do post the video a little bit later than I post the audio. The audio does pop up a few hours earlier. But again, just wanted to let you guys know, if you do go to our YouTube channel, smash that like button on all the videos that you watch, as we do have daily videos that drop on the channel, plus live streams every single Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Judd's Buds, Spokesy and Hoppy go live, and they love interacting with you all. But anyways, that does it for the show. Thank you to Seth. Thank you to all of our partners. And thank you, the listeners, the viewers. Again, check us out on YouTube. Go subscribe at the SotaPod. Like every video that you watch. Comment on every video that you watch, as it just helps us get in front of more viewers. And if you are listening to the podcast side of things, hey, we love you guys. You guys are the OGs. Whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening, please give us a kind rating and review. If you can like the video or give it a thumbs up or a star or whatever it is, whatever option your platform gives you, please do that, as it helps the app push our podcast to more ears. And that's what we want here, to grow the SotaPod brand, to grow this little network that we have of various shows. We have podcasts drop every single day of the week, ladies and gentlemen. Full episodes on YouTube, obviously full episodes on the podcast side. You all are amazing. We appreciate you all. Thank you to to you all who watch or listen. Signing off, I'm Misha Jerome alongside my friend Seth Toupal of Locked On Wild. This has been the Sota Pod presented by Better Edge, 7th Avenue Pizza, Northland Vodka, and Waggle Golf. Don't fear, just drink some beer and stay wild.